Hi guys, I ran this beautiful property on Airbnb for a year and today, unfortunately, the lease is coming to an end. Don't get me wrong, the place is really good. It's just that there were a lot of things that did not turn out the way I had expected them to, and to be very honest, there were quite a few moments when I wanted to quit mid season. But here's what they don't tell you when they talk about start an Airbnb, make this much money, and get rich. It's not as dreamy as it looks like on Instagram. And this is exactly what I'll be discussing in this video. I'll talk about my journey, share my rough lease numbers, can't really talk about original owing to the agreement, and also let you know what went wrong. This will be a completely transparent and a frank video that will help you understand the reality from all angles. So I hope you appreciate the efforts that I'm putting in and give it a like so it encourages me to make more such videos. Now, before we begin, let me give a little bit of context of the property. It's a 3 BHK villa in a gated society with a pool that is super close to the beach. 10 minutes walking tops. The setup was ideal for an Airbnb listing and I started the lease from April. Now since the villa came furnished, the rent was naturally on the higher side. I can't share the exact amount, but it was in the range of 75k to 90k per month. In addition to that, there were the monthly expenses that come with running a property like this. So we are talking about caretaker salaries, electricity bills, regular maintenance and repairs, consumables like toiletries, linen laundry, and of course, Airbnb takes a cut from every booking. When I added all of this up, my monthly break even came out to be around 1 lakh. That means unless I crossed 1 lakh in revenue every single month, I was basically in the red. And that's the thing. Some months I did well, backed a profit in the first month itself, and projecting for the peak season turnout of Goa, the numbers were looking exciting. But then reality hit. And that is the whole story I'm going to tell you. Let me start from the beginning. When I first got this property and listed it on Airbnb, I was genuinely excited. Such a spacious house at one of the best locations. I left no time in getting it up at the earliest. The photos, they turned out to be amazing, and once up, the listing did start getting attention fairly quickly. I did have a handful of guests who appreciated the space, left 5-star reviews, like the ambience, like the management, and that made me all think, this is it, I have cracked the code. But very quickly, I realized that the business of Airbnb, especially in a place like Goa, is more than just getting a beautiful property. At the end of the day, you need to get that math working and actualize. And that involves managing 100 little different tasks every single day. Now, before we go along the video, I would like to firstly share my revenue from this property. I had this villa on lease for 11-month period from May 15th to April 15th. Typically, a lease period is for 11 months. You can extend it. Of course, it is very customizable, but a general idea for a leave and license agreement is for 11 months. So I have jotted down all the revenue that I made in this sheet. I'll put the link to the sheet in the description box so you can have a look at it and understand it better yourself. But I'll go through it and make some comments, and maybe then you'll be able to understand my perspective or what happened there. So we started on May 15th and we started half a month. So therefore I mentioned mid here. I took all the expenses, rent, salaries also in half for this month. But considering that, the numbers looked really good. We were able to break even with some profit also. So it was like a good sign at the initial start. Then came the monsoons, the low seasons of Goa, and bookings took a hit. Honestly, sometimes the queries were so low that my phone was on silent for weeks and it was worrying, to be honest. But I held on because in Goa, a seasonal market, you look at the peak season more so, that you'll be able to recoup the investment during the stretch of high season. Then after that, August was a good comeback with the long weekend of Independence Day, and I got good queries, good rates for the same. Now, September, it took a dip, which was unexpected. But if I reflect back now, the society did have some internal issues, which was again unavoidable. It was outside my control. It was stressful. It was kind of, that was a point where I would want to take out or would want to withdraw from this lease. But I had already invested so much, I had already made so much loss that I did not I thought that it's better to again wait for the tourist season, wait for the peak season, and be able to at least make some money, or at least not go through a loss. Now after this whole stretch, we had the most bizarre thing ever. The trend against Goa started rising on the internet. We saw news clips all over the internet that Goa is like the worst place to be. It is so expensive. It doesn't treat tourists right, and there were so many incidents happening. There were videos going viral, there was news and everything. That did have an impact on the bookings, and the number of bookings all the Airbnb managers or people who ran Airbnb were expecting, they dipped down. They took a huge dive. Now on papers, I agree, the numbers do look high, but why am I disappointed is because the projection of the numbers and the actuality didn't match. Now you have to understand that a manager manages his or her expenses based on the revenue that he'll be able to get from a property, especially rent. Whenever a negotiation with an owner takes place that this is the rent that I'll be giving, it is based on what margin he'll be able to make from the property. So due to unexpected circumstances, of course the rent was quite high, but the margins were impacted a lot. But thankfully Feb, March went well. I didn't go into loss, so I was able to stay afloat. In total, if we add all these numbers, we made around 12 lakhs from this villa. Not bad, but unfortunately not too good either. Let's see what went wrong in the next section. Now, let's talk about where things started getting tough. The first major challenge was seasonality of Goa. Now, Goa is a seasonal market where tourist rush is mainly from November to February. In the off-season, especially during the monsoon months, there were weeks when I went without a single booking. And even when I did get one, it was usually a last-minute guest asking for heavy discount. My revenues took a dip significantly, and even when the bookings were down, my costs still remained the same. I still had to pay rent, I still had to pay my caretaker salary, I still had to pay all the bills. Just because there are monsoons doesn't mean that your costs stop. Yes, we account this in a seasonal market like Goa, but a bad season due to external factors such as the trend of hate for Goa, boycott Goa, and society issues, and whatever factors that might be outside your control can hit your margins pretty hard. The second big issue was property maintenance. Now, running a villa and running an apartment are two different ball games altogether. It is not a passive thing. It is not that you hire a team and you just relax and you don't do anything. The attention a villa requires is much higher, with all the repairs, the dusting, the issues that might come up, infestations, and multiple more. You have to attend to everything that comes along with the villa. There were AC issues, there were power cuts. The villa required many more deep cleanings than what you do for a flat or an apartment maybe. During the monsoon, the insect infestation was out of control despite getting pest control done. And at another time, one of the bathrooms of the villa, it started leaking just when the guest was supposed to check in 30 minutes. And dealing with all this is not just a phone call. It means that you're personally involved in coordinating, in finding backups, listening to the guest complaints while waiting for the labor to fix the issues. Third, and this one really hit me, was staff management. I had a caretaker, and for the most part of my period, he did a decent job. He was loyal, he was disciplined, and I was pretty happy with him. But one month, right in the middle of the peak season, his health started deteriorating and he was no longer able to do the job. I tried to arrange for someone else, but couldn't find anyone who would do a good job in such a short period of time. I had guests checking in the next few weeks, they started complaining, and then the backup caretakers, they did not turn up. So I was stuck handling all the jobs myself. I had to be there, present on the ground, listening to guests, talking to the guests, listening to their complaints, getting all the phone calls in the middle of the night and what not. To be honest, at that point of time, I almost felt like giving it up, but I had invested so much that I couldn't just leave it right then and there. And fourthly, of course, there were unexpected expenses. Now, when you're running an Airbnb, you have guests, and these guests break things. Once it was a shoe rack, another time they had spoiled the bed sheets so much that we had to throw them away. We could not get them clean in the laundry. I had to fix plumbing issues, replace linen, deal with Wi-Fi not working multiple times, resolve AC breakdowns, All of these small things, when added up, eats into your margin big time. Also, and this is something people don't mention often, but Airbnb is not very consistent. I had said it in multiple of my videos that relying on Airbnb is not sufficient since it's basically driven by an algorithm. This algorithm favors hosts who have multiple listings and have a regular turnover. If your bookings dip even for 1 month, your listing is pushed down. That means your property would get less visibility, less bookings, and less revenue. It's a cycle. But what is the real cost that I had to bear because of all of this chaos? Let's find out. So what did this all mean financially? Well, over the course of the year, like we discussed, there were peak months where I did make some money. New Year and Christmas, for instance, were amazing. My villa was booked solid and I was able to make much above my break even. But that was just 2 or 3 months out of 12. In at least 5 to 6 months, I actually made less than my break even. That means I was paying out of my pocket, I was spending more than earning. Overall, when I averaged it out, my profit was negligible. And in some months, I took home zero, nothing. Despite all the work, all the coordination and all the stress. Honestly, if I reflect on my journey, more than the financial loss, the emotional toll started piling up. Every time my phone rang, whether in the middle of the night or if I was out somewhere, I would get that sinking feeling, oh my god, what has gone wrong now? What is the problem now? Even when I wasn't working on the property directly, it was always on my mind. It felt like I could never switch off. And for earning an additional income just from a side hustle, the stress started feeling disproportionate and I was getting worn out completely. Now, I know this sounds like a cautionary tale, and well, to be honest, it kind of is. But I don't regret the whole episode because I learned so much. First, I learned the inner depths of Airbnb as a business, not a side hustle. You can't treat it casually and expect big returns. It requires attention, systems, and backup plans. Second, a good Airbnb property might not always work out. You need to sort out the external surrounding factors of that property. A good location works only to a certain extent. It does not foolproof you against issues that might come up. Third, I understood the importance of a good and loyal team. Having a reliable caretaker, plumber, and cleaner who are disciplined makes all the difference. Fourth, and this is a big one, I now understand better the importance of being prepared for uncalled for expenses and worst case scenarios. In the hospitality industry, a 60 to 70% occupancy rate is considered standard, and we calculate all our revenue projections and profit margins based on higher occupancy during the peak season. But now I realize that it's not really sustainable. What happens when external factors go outside your control to a greater extent? What happens if a situation like Corona again comes up? What if you are just 30% booked for a very, very long time? That is your worst case scenario. That is the number you need to be prepared for. So, after all this chaos, would I do it again? Yes, but not in the same way. The next time I go for another new type of property, I would be more strategic. Maybe I'll try co-hosting first to understand the operations better. I'd make sure that the property had consistent demand for a number of seasons before I take it on, not just for the last 1 or 2 seasons. This was a new attempt. And honestly, it wasn't a huge success, but I would say it wasn't a complete waste either. It was kind of like a tuition. So if you are someone who has been thinking of starting an Airbnb, I hope this video gave you some clarity. There's a lot of opportunity in this space, but also a lot of noise. People have different opinions. Some say they just work for 4 hours a week and make 91 crore or I don't know how much money. Don't just go by looks or what looks good on Instagram or in pictures or just what people are feeding you. Ask the tough questions, run your numbers thoroughly. The most important part is building reliable systems and doing it with open eyes. All this would also help you analyze the property better if you're looking to purchase a property just to get that additional source of income or an additional yield via the short-term rental route. And if this video helped you even a little bit, please do consider giving this video a like. That would indicate to me that you like all this type of content. Drop a comment what you found the most interesting, share your experience, and send it to someone who's planning to start an Airbnb, because we need more real stories out there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.